So the recording is on, and basically we promise that we will share this recording only if our speaker decided we can share it after the presentation. So yeah, we will send you it via email and share on our social media channels if Alyona accepts this after the webinar. And I think it's already time. And quickly, I would like make a short introduction about NerdsBay and about myself. My name is Julia. I'm a founder of NerdsBay. NerdsBay is a company which started 2019, so it's already 6 years, the period when we are working. And for now, we've been doing many different activities, but for now, our main product, our main service is employer of record. This is a possibility for people who live in Finland, work remotely, and keep their status as employed person. So you are not forced to become an entrepreneur in this situation. So yeah. You can take a look at our website. So if you would like to move to Finland and work remotely from Finland, or you're struggling to find a job in Finland and you would like to find a job outside of Finland and work remotely, our service is designed for you. And now I would like to give the stage to Alyona, and thank you very much for joining us today. The topic is super hot, and I'm waiting to know more.
Yes. Hi, my name is Alyona, and we are talking about salary negotiations today. And when I was preparing for this, I tried to cover everything possible. So as Julia mentioned, like put your questions in Q&A, but I hope there's a high chance it will be answered later on. So let's start. So this is about me. I'm not going to go through everything. Worked here, worked there, got into career ladder very quickly. Now engineering manager, managing currently 3 teams. Also have a lot of educations here, as you can see, and I'm also a career coach. So today we are talking about how to think about salary, how to learn about salary, and when you do negotiating, first we will talk about new job, and then how to negotiate with the current company. So starting to think about the salary. So if you're moving abroad or you're preparing to change the job, you need to think about salary range that you want. And when you think about salary, it's very important that you know that the salary will cover your basic expenses, that you can join. And I'm not talking about like saving, like, money for example, I don't know, like house or something, but any regular savings, like for trips, for anything, that it has to make you feel that your work is valued and that it matches what you believe you deserve at work. So all of these 4 components should be there when your salary is, created in your head. So we can start with a very simple exercise, and that's what I always do with all the new clients. And you think about a sum, which would be your minimum. So you start thinking, for example, from 1,500 euros or 2,000 euros, and you think like, if I wake up and I know that this is my salary, do I want to wake up and get to the job? And if it's like, no, like it's like I can get from Kela like much better money, like I would just like stay and sleep. So you need to find this minimum, like 2,500. Would I wake up? Maybe, yeah. I wouldn't be happy, but I would go to the work, I would do my minimum, and that would be it. And then you multiply this minimum amount to 2 or 3, depending, how small it is. So for example, you get 10,000 and you think about getting the salary. And in most of people, when you get a very high salary, you get this anxiety when you think about it. So for example, for me currently, if the company invites me to give me 15,000 base salary, I would feel like, very anxious. I would be like, okay, maybe I'm not doing like something for this amount of money. And, like I would think that, they will find out that I'm not worth it and I will be in trouble. So what I would do is that I would go down. So like, would I do it for 14,000? Maybe too much, like 10,000. 10,000 sounds really good to me. So like, I would feel I'm very valued. I think that, like I can cover everything I want. So that would be great. So the number for everyone is on their own. So you have to think about it on, and of course you're thinking about all the previous four things, because it also depends on the country, how much you can afford with your salary. And of course your family situation, if you have kids, if you're the only one working, and so on. So that would be your maximum. Yeah, so you have your minimum, you have your maximum, and that's always where you start thinking about salary. You don't look at the market first, but you start from the feeling what you want to get. Yes, and if you're moving to Finland and you have no idea about expenses, it works really well with Facebook groups, for example. You can ask a question there, you can ask how much people spend there, and it doesn't have to be just IT people, because in those groups it's usually people from all kind of like backgrounds, and they realistically can tell you how much they spend. But sometimes there are like very strange people who spend 200 euros per month for food for two people. I don't know how they manage, because for me it's like at least 500 for groceries and 500 for restaurants, because food is everything to me, and that's where my salary goes currently. So think about your own needs and how much you spend, how much you want to go out. That's very important when you think about salary, because it has to cover everything. You don't want to move and decrease your lifestyle. Then learning about salary. So one of the things which I really like about Finnish market, it's that people will actually tell you their salary if you ask. And how to ask this, you usually need to be very open yourself. So, first you look for people who aren't the role that you want, the levels that you want, and you tell them that, I'm changing the jobs and I haven't been on the market for a couple of years and I have no idea what the salary is. And my salary right now is this and that. So this is what I'm getting now. What do you think? Is it still relevant, or am I underpaid now? And ask them directly, like either their salary, or if they know like what is the range of the salaries in their company, like what it would be about. And here also one of the good things, if you're working together with external recruiter, you can ask them about salary ranges, because they know usually what it is. So this would be like a very personal thing. Like if you're able to ask for this, that would be the good baseline, because you will know from real people who are working right now what are the salaries. And if you can't, if you're very shy, then you can go and look at other places. So some of the companies in Finland would actually post salary ranges to their job ads. And from all of what I saw from those salary ranges, they are below the actual market level. And I think that's why they're posting them, because, like they kind of like let you see that it's not maybe what you expect when you're already there, when you're in Finland. So for example, I was looking for the role myself, and I saw some of the roles like paying 6,000, which was very much below from what you expect from my current role. Like it's like a couple of thousands less than what it should be. And also for other roles, like you look like, for example, like principal engineer would be like 4,500. That's not a salary of principal engineer. It's much lower what you see in the ads. Then you have sites like Glassdoor, which is usually quite reliable, but you need to learn how to use it, because if you use it from different country, it will do a weird filtering, which would not show you like the salaries from Finland, for example. So you do the filtering and you look, and sometimes you see these huge ranges. And it's not about how you negotiate, it's about how people think when they report the salary. Because most likely the base salary is 82,000, but you get RSUs, which gets you to this number. And the most important thing to understand about these RSUs is that they can be real or they can be not very real. So if the company is public and you can freely trade their stocks, that's a real money. And that's what usually can start vesting after 1 year in Finland. That's some kind of law there. And that's real money. So you will get it usually every 3 months, 4 times a year. You will get those money on your bank account, and that would be your actual salary. But a lot of companies, they offer you a lot of money in stock, but they are not public. they're not public, they're private companies, and you never know if they will actually one day will be public. So it might also be very high chance you will never get this money. And that's the mistake I made, because I always would get these options. They would never work. But then I came to company with real RSUs and I didn't understand that's real money. And, I made very bad decision when I joined that company, because, if I did think about it, I would get much higher paid on like first couple of years. But with the problem with these options is that they do turn you into a person that I have to stay, have so many options that I can invest at some point. I know personally several people who would stay in the company for like 7 years, hoping that they're like 200,000 euros in options, like one day will become money. It never becomes money. So it doesn't always happen. And I would say that it's like happens more like it happens less than you want. Yes, so when negotiating the new job, you want to start with very basics. So you ask if they have a base salary range for the role. Sometimes they do. Like I had an interview a few months ago, and they actually asked me like, what is your salary expectation? And then they immediately said, we have a salary range of this and that. That was really nice. Doesn't happen often. It's again like, very, very rare thing. And here you need to take it into your hands and tell them your range. And it's really scary, because usually people think like, what if I tell a big number and they don't want me? But most likely it's what if people, what if I tell people like very little and I will be underpaid and so on. And yes, that happens. But because you did that exercise, I hope, which I mentioned at the beginning, like when you know your minimum and your maximum, you can go with an actual range. And how you go with that, you can choose. You either tell the range or you tell your minimum. So it's very important that you do, because you won't scare them with your salary request. And it simply helps you both to see if you can match each other. And, when you tell the salary request, they usually give you a feedback on it. They can tell you like, yes, this sounds really good, it's in our range. Or they will tell you like, this is slightly above our range. Or they will tell you this is really out of our range, this is too much. And then, like you can ask them about range and then decide if you want to continue. If you go with the minimum, you never actually tell the minimum. So for example, if you're like, okay, I will be very happy with 5,000, you cannot tell 5,000, because Finnish people will not give you 5,000. When they ask you for this like amount you want, they will always minus something from there. So you always have to put something on top. So at least you tell them 5,200. Right now, if it was me, I would say 5,500, because then I would maybe get 5,200. So I would still get more than I wanted. But, like, it's nice. If you don't say that, if you say 5,000, most likely you will get something like 4,800, maybe even a bit less. Because Finns, they think that you ask them and you want to, like, you would be fine with a bit less than that. And, if the company is saying this is out of our range, but it's still very interesting to you, you can assure them like, all right, okay, now I understand your salary range, but I would still like to continue because I really like the company. So this would not be a problem for me. It's just what I'm getting now, but I'm like ready for your company to go a bit down. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes like it's a really, really good company. They have exciting mission, like, they are very meaningful, and it's fine to do that. This is the case, very, very standard, and all my friends usually call me with that. So they tell that I got a call and they made me an offer 5,000 months. I think it's okay, a bit less than I expected, especially because I requested 5,300 to 5,700. So one thing that you do is when you get a call like this and you realize that it's an offer call, you need to end it as soon as possible. I'm sorry for all HRs here who might be listening, but this is a trick that HR uses to pressure you into getting an offer. And that's what you don't want. So you realize it's HR calling you with an offer, you try to end it as soon as possible, you don't agree to anything. You thank them profoundly, you say like, thank you, I'm so happy, very happy to hear, but goodbye. So you're telling them you're happy. You're telling them that please send me everything via email and I will come back to you. And sometimes it happens that, they will keep insisting on the call. And then you have to ask them to give you several hours or call you next day and send you email still so you can actually read. And you need the several hours, not 1 hour, not half an hour. You need like at least 3 hours to think about it, because you need to really think like you remember what they said. They probably told you the number because they tell you quite quickly that. And if it's very low or like it's not what you expected, you need to come with your thoughts and think what to tell them. So if they agreed with the mail, they send you an email with an offer. There's some like numbers and everything. So you thank them for the offer. And if you mentioned the range already, like you did tell them the range, you tell them like, all right, during our first interview, we agreed to this and that numbers, and now it's this number. Like, is it possible to still match it? Or you can go a bit differently. So like you can tell that, for example, it happens often, like we always have this mid-year review, yearly review, and that, for example, you will get a raise. So that you will get around like 300. So you can say that, this was my range, but now, my salary will be reviewed and I think I will get this and that. So I would prefer if we could still go with this number, and you say a higher number. And just to, make it easier for you, I personally allow you to take, like, you have your number and then you plus 300 to that. So, if you thought that you will ask for 5,500, you ask for 5,800, because Finnish people will try to put it down again. So, again, like the first time when you tell them the minimum, they will ask again less amount. So if they tell you the minimum and you say like, I would still like to ask to try to get to 5,500, they will put it down. So you need to think about the number plus 200-300 to that. And then you will have a better chance to get what you want. So if it happens that they cannot meet the number you want, so for example, it's still like 5,000, it's our max, we don't have any more budget, like, we had to fire 5 people to hire you. Like, what you need to do is to ask if they have a sign-on bonus. It's a thing that wasn't a usual thing in Finland, but now they have it sometimes in some companies, and it's a one-time payment, which is usually 1 month. Sometimes it's more like it's 6,000 for everyone, but it's still nice. So you can ask about it, and you can ask like if you can get it. Then you ask them about 4 to 5 extra weeks of holidays, and you also do that even if you love the salary. Like, they gave you great salary, but in Finland you have to ask for additional holidays because it's usually not given. And all Finns know that, but most of immigrants don't know that. And I have to repeat it to everyone that you have to ask. And why you ask for 4 or 5 extra weeks is because they will give you 2 or 3. But if you ask for 2 or 3, they will give you 1. So it's the same as with the salary. Once I asked for 5 weeks, and I actually got 5 weeks, that was very great. And I used them all like in 2 months after I started to work. And then, of course, ask about their learning budget, conferences that you can go, and other benefits. So if it's important for you, some companies have very good and big learning budgets, and maybe that will cover because maybe you're paying for your own courses, but here it will be included. Also, very important to ask about salary raise practices in the company, because some companies, they only do it once a year. They will say that, we can do exceptional cases in mid-year review, and exceptional means it's almost never, happening. So it could be once a year. And then you also can ask, like, is it like, what is the usual practice? Is it 2%? Is it 5%? What do you need to get it up? You can also ask about paid things, like, for example, doing on-call opportunities and how much they pay, because that's, of course, extra job. But sometimes, for example, on call in Finland, you get like 500 to 1,000 a week for doing that. And from my experience, when I was a programmer, I love those on calls because you do nothing, because nothing usually happens and you just get free money. Of course, if something happens, it has to be like you have to do it at night if it happens at night, but it's usually not that often that something happens. And you can also ask them if they have end of probation salary reviews. It sometimes happens because, they cannot tell what kind of level you are, and they can tell you like, yeah, in 6 months we will see if you're performing, and then we can agree on new thing. But with this one, you don't trust anything, or you don't trust verbal promises. You ask them to put that into contract. So if they tell you that there is review, you ask them to put in the contract, we will review salary at the end of probation. And if you're able to do that, also put what would be the salary raise there. Sometimes it is because some companies have very, very clear ranges. So they can put like up to like 85,000 a year. If you don't put that into contract, there's a very high probability that people will tell you, we never spoke about it, never heard that. And unfortunately, I saw that in my career when, when people would go after it, and manager would just say, no, never spoke about it, you never heard about it, we don't even have practice like that. But I did see people who did put that into their contract, and that was executed because you just bring this contract to your manager and you're done. Yes, and why do you need to fight for that? Because it's very important to understand the salary that you're getting right now, there's a very big chance that that's the salary you're getting for next 2 years. So when you get an offer and they give you, for example, 4,000, you think to yourself, I'm happy with 4,000 now. Am I happy with it in 1.5 years? And if the answer is not, then don't go for it, because 2 years can be easily. First year they will tell you, like the company station is hard, and you just started, and then in 2 years they can give you like 2% raise. You never know. So be prepared that it's your 2 year salary for next years. Yes. And getting a raise in the next 2 years will be really hard unless you're exceptional and will be performing from day one. But even then, you never know, because again, companies, when they hire you, it's also an investment. So when they hire you, they know that you will not be performing for 6 months usually, and they invest into you, and that's why like raising salary in 1 year, it's usually very, very little chance to get that. And they're making you an offer because they want you as much as you want this job. It's both way streets, and not them being a charity giving work to you, unless you work in a charity and you don't go to work with a charity. But otherwise it's not, and you need to fight for your salary. You need to get very good deal, and you have this fear that they might get the offer away from you. Almost never happens, and they will tell you okay, this is unrealistic expectations. They will try to work with you from your first task. They will not just tell you okay, offer is off the table. That never happened in my story of my whole employment. And yes, negotiation is a skill and you need to practice it. And sometimes it happens that you get the offer that you don't want. It just happened to my friend. She went to interview and she didn't like it from the first interview. And she's like, yeah, I wouldn't continue it. I don't want it. And I told her, you don't want it. So try the skill of not preparing for interview. Just go as you are. That's the skill. For the last 5 years, I never prepare for any interviews because, I just know how to do them. And so she went and she actually got an offer. And she got an offer with a salary which was lower than her current salary. I think it was 65, and she was getting 70 a year. And I told her, try to get as much money as you want, and I will give you the number 78. Try to get it to 78. From 65 to 78. You have nothing to lose. What can they do? And she did. So they talked through the email, and she got the salary to 75, and they gave her 6,000 sign-in bonus. She didn't take it, but now she knows that she can do it and that she is actually a good professional and people want her. So if you have case like that, try it out and try to negotiate. I think one of the things that she was all very afraid of is that that she's wasting time of other people. And it is, but companies also waste our time when we go to interviews with them. They reject us, they ask us to do 5 days homework, and they don't reply after that. So it's just how the companies work. And once the story happened to me, I got through all the interviews. It was like 7 interviews back then, and I didn't want to go because I really liked my current job that I had at that moment. But I thought like, okay, I will tell them so big number that they will not want me after that. And I did, and they said, okay. And I came to that company and I was the highest paying employee with that title. And it was nice, and I realized that my worth is much higher than I thought. So what you need to learn in your real life is to talk about money. It's very normal to feel uncomfortable. In our society, it's generally not something nice, like when we talk about money, and it's fine. Sometimes, you need to do things that are uncomfortable, otherwise you never grow. It's normal to be scared when you talk about money, when you negotiate, and it's not like, that people are not scared. Most of people are scared, not everybody, but most people are scared, but they still do it. It's not about being fearless, it's about being brave, go through the fear and do it. Like, talk about salary, talk about, negotiate about the salary, even if you don't have the job right now. Because what I see a lot with people is that when they don't have the job, they would not try. They say like, okay, I'm so scared that they will not give me the role and I have to go through this again, that I will just accept anything they tell me. And that's a very big mistake again. Not having a job doesn't make you worth less. We never know like why you left the job. Maybe you were laid off, maybe you left it because of burnout, any other reason, but you still have have ability to negotiate it. And it is scary and you want stability, but not negotiating it will make you, unhappy in like half a year when you realize where you are and that you are not getting enough money for your job. Yes, and try to do it over email, as I said. You have time to breathe, you can, think what you write. And the best thing to do is to ask a friend to help you, and because they have fresh eyes and they're not scared. For them, for many people, it's actually fun to do. I always when my friends get an offer, they always call me and we sit together and we craft an email there. And I really love it because when I was 19, I was at school when I got my first offer. It was like full stack development, and my friend back then, she told me what to ask because I was I just moved, it was my first year in Finland, and I wanted to ask so little money, and she just tripled it and told me to write this big number. And for me it was insanely huge money. It was money which my mom and dad made back then together. So I did, and they said you're asking very little, and they gave me even more. So that was a nice thing. And remember that this can result in hundreds or even thousands per month if you ask for it. If you don't, you get the money and you're unhappy for 2 years. And remember, the worst thing you can do for yourself when you get an offer is just to say yes. Because, when we give you an offer, we try to give you as little as possible. Unless, we see that you really don't understand, you're asking so little that we know that you come and you will know that you're getting twice less than other people. But we will also try to give you in the middle, so we have the room to increase your salary with time. But we can also do it at the beginning. But it will also mean that you may not get anything in 2 years because we already invested in you. Yes, when negotiating at the current job. So there are a few points where you can negotiate your salary when you are at the new company. So if at the beginning, you can do it at the end of probation period, as I mentioned, you still have some leverage because realistically you can leave. And in Finland, it's really good compared to Germany because in Finland, you can leave in 1 day. So, you can go with that. You can start talking about it, you realized how much work it is, you did this and that, and you want better money. It only works if you were actually very good. So, if you were able to prove that you're a high performer, that you did a lot of things, you started to perform from day one, it will work very well. If you were very average, probably not. End of the first year or the yearly review cycle, if you've been employed at least for 6 months, that's a very usual place. As I mentioned, usually people don't expect much here. But again, if you're a high performer, you can even get a promotion there. And promotion usually comes with 10% raise. Then mid-year review and yearly review later on again, of course. And Here, I would again tell you to talk to your manager, tell them your expectation, so they know that you're expecting it. And when you receive a new offer from another company, that's also the point, like to go to your manager and say like, okay, market is interested in me and I really need a raise. When you get a new title, so you get promoted, or when you move to another team. This actually is something that people often don't think about, but when you move to another team, especially if they have role opened, it means that they have a new salary range usually for that, for that role, and you can try to get it. So, for example, my friend, she recently moved to another team, and she got 400 salary bump when just moving to another team from like within our organization. But she had to, of course, go through interview. It wasn't just like transferring her. So, where to start? Again, think about the minimum raise you would be okay with. So, for example, I'm getting 5,000, and I think, like, if I get 100, it would be like a slap on my face. Like, why would I even get it? It's like, I wish I didn't get anything. Like, some people are very happy with 30 euros, it doesn't matter. But I'm the person who's like, okay, if they value me, it has to be at least 205, like 2,000, 250. And that's what I would tell my manager. Think about what you actually want and also look at the numbers. Usually, when you meet expectations, that comes with 1-2% raise. Sometimes it's free, it also depends on inflation, on the company policies, but usually we are looking at like 2% raise. And it's important to understand, as I mentioned, that first 6 to 12 months, it's investment in your performance. So you have to overperform to even meet expectation and get the salary raise. And if market salaries have changed significantly and your salary is far behind, then you leave, if they don't increase your salary. So when it comes to meet expectations, you noticed as a manager that many people don't understand what it means. And I didn't either when I was just a developer. So there's always a set of expectations for the role, what you're supposed to do. And those expectations are already very high. And meeting high expectations is already great. So meets expectations doesn't mean that your manager thinks that you're not doing a good job. Sometimes expectations are really high. Like, for example, I saw some of the reviews, like as a manager, I came to the team and I look at the senior developer and they have this description that ownership. And it was written greatly exceeds expectations. And I look at the comment and it says that, person is taking ownership for the work that they're doing. They are taking like from the start to finish, they give the results and they're able to deliver like 2 projects at the same time. And as a manager, this meets expectations. Because, if you're a senior developer and you're not able to do that, you're not a senior developer. So, like some people, they mistake like exceeds expectations with like wanting to praise person for a good work, but the expectations were very high and meets expectations, it's where it is. And what exceeds expectation means is that you are doing 30 to 40% of expectations of the next role, and you've been doing that for 6 to 12 months. So you can say that you can show that you are delivering with stability and you are delivering constantly. So it's not like, you did one project and now you're great, but no, you did it 6 to 12 months. You get feedback from more senior employees who can verify that you did do it and that you did it on the next level. Then you exceed expectations. So when you bring an offer from another company, you need to be ready that they might not offer you to stay. They will tell, okay, you can leave. It was nice seeing you. If they do tell you like, no, yes, please leave, and they give you the salary, there is a case that they might be planning to replace you. So, they know that you can do it, and they will gradually move your responsibilities. They will ask you to do more knowledge sharing, and next time if you try to do that again, they will tell you goodbye. But they might offer you a better deal. They might understand, oh, actually that person was underpaid and like it was a big mistake, we didn't think about it. and they may just start thinking better next time, like, they learn their lesson, like, they shouldn't have done that, it would have costed more, and so on, and they would take better care next time, but they can also tell you to leave. So how to talk to your manager? And there's two cases. One, if you want to stay in the company and you show the offer just to demonstrate that, market wants you and your value on the market is higher. And you say that you really like the company, you value your colleagues, your work, and that you really want to continue with your current employer. You tell them the number that was offered and ask if they can match it or offer more. And of course, remember to include benefits. Like if you get more benefits at this company, also remember to include them into what you're asking. But if you get more benefits from other company, you can also mention them. And you give them deadline, because usually company gets the offers, they tell you before Friday. So you also tell them that I need an answer before Thursday, for example, so I can make a decision. And you need to be ready to actually leave, because again, they can say like, okay, we don't have that much money in the budget, and we cannot just match it. You can still, of course, stay, but I don't know like how it will go if they cannot offer you anything. Would you like want to stay with that offer when you have a better one? So you decide. And how to talk to manager if you don't want to stay in the company. So you thank them for your time at the company. You explain that you received the opportunities, that you want to go after them. You politely decline the conversation about possible raise, and you explain that, like you don't want to review it. Because, also like, reviewing it will take your time, it will stress you out, and it's easier if you will be very upfront with them about this. And it might be sometimes tempting to just see what they can offer, but it's also more kind, like, to yourself and to others, just to say that I don't want to stay and it's time for me to move forward. I had this couple of times. I didn't like, I also got an offer. I didn't do it to just like raise my salary, because I actually did feel that I want to leave. And I always like would say like, please don't offer me anything. This is my final decision. And it was very nice because they, listened to me and didn't do it. So there's some additional advice why you might not be getting a salary raise. So there's a problem that many managers don't want to deal with salary raises because it's generally hard. They have to give a lot of examples what you did compared to others. And they also might be not straightforward to tell you the truth. So sometimes if you're not getting a raise, there is high chance that you're performing at average level. I even saw cases when people would think that they're doing really well, and then, I was like, yeah, sounds really good. And then you see from their managers that managers think that they are not performing at all, not even average level, but they are underperforming. But they would not tell it to the person because it is really hard. It is a manager job, but it's not something most people do. Like very often you will not know that you're underperforming and you might think that you're doing well, but you're not. So it's very important to try to get, from the manager what they actually think about the performance. Get it from other, stakeholders, like where do they see you, to make sure that you're doing well. Yes, it can be difficult for your manager to talk about money, so they might just not fight for your case. Sometimes, they're not good at it. They are not good at negotiations. They're budgets, and there's yeah, they're already getting okay, I don't want to deal with it. And sometimes I saw that cases few times. People would say that I don't feel recognition for my effort, and people would interpret it like they need to praise you. And the CTO will come to you and say, great job, good work. Because they don't know what you mean, recognition doesn't mean money. And in I don't know if in English language it means money, but in Finland it doesn't mean money. So it means that that people don't notice your work and you want them to notice your work. So they will just give you a lot of compliments. And it did happen several times. I saw it. And then now as a seasoned manager, when people tell me that and I ask them, what is recognition to you? And they start saying, and they sometimes say it's money, and when they say a lot of things, and I think okay, if you get a raise, is anything else important for you? And most people say no, raise would be enough. So it's important to tell very, open days that you want money recognition, not just recognition, because it doesn't mean same thing for everyone. And sometimes managers just can't do much. They're not the ones who make the final decisions. And it was, a thing that I thought that I will grow in my career. Like I became head of engineering. And even there, I didn't make any decisions about salaries. It's up still. So your engineering manager makes no decisions there. The only thing that they do is they bring your case, they try to fight it, and they still can get nothing because it's not their call. Usually there's a very limited budget and it goes to high performance. Again, so like if people think that you're high performing and there's a chance that you will leave, you will get the raise. But if you're doing just well, you're meeting expectations, everything is going well, it's like you will just not get it. Because like they have this budget for people who are at attrition risk. Office politics affect budget a lot. Sometimes, like when somebody is friend with CTO or VP, their team gets more, and that just happens. And sometimes your salary expectations are unrealistic. I was talking to a person, and they've been with the company a bit longer than 6 months, and they told me that they want to ask for a raise. And when I asked like what they're thinking, and they said 15%. And again, that goes back to, like you need to negotiate at the beginning. There's 0 chances you get 15%. There's very little chance you're getting 5% after 6 months. So very realistic, like understanding that you negotiate salary before you go to job. So, when you sign a contract, you're signing at least a year of that salary. So you tried everything, nothing worked, leave. That the way, like I saw people being in companies for years and years, and they said like, okay, I didn't get it this year, I didn't get it for 3 years, I will get it this year. No, you already showed that you will stay even after 3 years not getting a salary raise. You stayed. Why would you leave now? And people don't leave. So you're leaving and you're getting a better salary. That's the only thing you can do here. So the key points from today: you need to know your salary minimum, your salary maximum. You always ask more than you want. You want 5,000, you add 300, 5,300. So always have this, like 200-300 to add. Remember, just to add whatever number you have added to that, you will not be mistaken there. You are the one to tell the number. You're not waiting for range, because some people will just not tell you. You're telling the range. You look at their expression. You hear their feedback. Negotiations are scary, uncomfortable for most people. They are uncomfortable for me as well. I do it because life is uncomfortable. And, uncomfortable things make your life comfortable. But you need to do that first. You never agree on anything via phone. You move everything to email as soon as possible. And you put everything you've ever talked to the contract, because nobody remembers what they promised except for you. You will remember it, but you have nothing to prove it. So put it to the contract, at least put it to the email if it's not in the contract, so you can at least pull the email and show it, but it has to be written. If it's not written, it never happened. And if you need more support, I do coaching and consulting, helping with looking for the job, helping to find your own space, your own place, understand what you want from your career, change career, and so on. Thank you. And if there are any questions, it's a good moment to ask.
Thank you, Alyona. Thank you very much. That was, as usual, nice presentation, but may I ask a question?
Yeah.
While people are sending them in chat, or you also can raise your hand and ask your question with open mic, because we have this possibility today. So my question would be like that. So, for example, I'm out of 2 candidates who is applying for the vacancy, and we are on the final stage of the interview, and we are equal in in qualification and in skills. So companies see us as 2 equal candidates. And in this point, the company will choose one who will require less salary. But this is like a senior role, and I really want it, but I don't know what I need to say to be, also good in comparing with this another candidate. Do you have any advice on that?
It almost never happens. Like, I saw a lot from how people make decisions, and a lot of decisions come from a vibe. Like, your manager, like, I have this candidate, they're very similar, but I just feel with the gut feeling that the other one is better. Like, they are the fit for the company. Like, they are very outspoken. They were explaining really well the things that they talked about. Like, at least, in the discussions in the last 5 years, maybe when we discuss the candidates, we talk a lot about how we felt when they were there, their presence. And the salary doesn't matter there because, people finally realized that you have to work with that person. So it's a lot about the feeling of hiring managers. But, like, I don't know what you need to say to get that. It's more like through the whole interview, how, like, what kind of person you are.
Thank you. I see a question. Olga is asking, are they asking for justification for the requested salary cost breakdown? How can I overcome the fear of salary negotiation after a long period of unemployment? This is a super good question. Thank you, Olga.
Yes. Let me read it. I was asking for justification. Usually not. Like, nobody is asking for justification. I never saw that. Did you have a case like that? Because usually when you ask for the salary, it's what usually people think that it's your current salary plus a little bit. I used to tell, like, when I was looking for jobs, I would say that this is my current salary and I want more. And that was it. So, and I would be very truthful with you when I said this is my current salary. I also added like 500 to that. And so if you had, yeah, but let's go second one. How can I overcome the fear of salary negotiation after a long period of unemployment? So it's again about what I've mentioned, that you are scared that you will not get this job. First thing that you do is that you imagine, for example, you are given 2,000 euros. You're probably happy because you don't have anything. Then you try to feel that time has passed and it's been 6 months and you've been working for that salary. Does it feel good still? Because usually it doesn't. And you want to feel good in 2 months, and you are getting the job because they want you, and you still can negotiate it. It's a bit harder with being scared, because we need to see where that fear comes from. But if you're able to rely on yourself and your feelings, understand you won't be happy and you don't want to be unhappy for this, then I don't know if it helps or not. But it's more like a case for a bigger study.
We have Maria who raised the hand. Maria, you can, yes.
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to say thank you so much, Alyona, for this presentation. I'm working as an HR, so I have the salary negotiations from the both side, but even for me, there were some piece of the new information. And I just wondered, how do you see, should we adapt somehow your advices into the current situation in the market? I'm mainly working with the tech companies, and as far as I can see here in Finland, the situation is quite challenging. There might be the fear, for example, for some employees who are working with the company, and they're somehow aware that they're getting the higher salary in the market right now, and they might feel this fear that, okay, if I may ask a little bit more, then probably I'm going to be the first person that company decided to let go when there are going to be some layoffs.
Yeah, and what if the company doesn't decide?
Yeah, that's true. Should we adapt somehow your advices apply to the current situation, or it's also a piece of fear that we all have, and we just need to withdraw it from the professional conversation. Because, I mean, according to my experience, when during the interview, for example, someone is asking the higher salary, but I really like this person, I just say loudly that, okay, here's our ranges. And if you okay to move forward, then we just move forward. But for the others, they might be, I don't know, they probably might be rejecting the further communication. What do you think?
Yeah, it really depends. If you are good at your job, there's nothing to be feared. First, like, a lot of people come now and say, like, this is a recession. I'm so afraid to, like, lose the job, so afraid to change the job. It doesn't matter, because recessions are cycled. Like, it happened before, there were recessions before, and people find the job. So, like, you should not be afraid to look for a new place, to ask for a better salary. So for us, like, nobody will fire you for asking, and nobody will think about, laying you off for asking for a better salary. Asking for a better salary if you're doing a good job is just what you do, and it's normal, and you shouldn't be afraid of that, because then you just show that, change, like, there were some changes and now I feel that I worth more. And that also helps to employer to see that maybe you are worth more. So it is a basic fear, but like, I never had it. So it's harder for me. And I think with my clients, when they come with that kind of fear, it usually comes from the imposter syndrome. And that's you take it away and you go for a better salary, and you allow yourself to have a better salary, and people usually get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, we have more question in the chat. Would you like me to read, or you would like to read it by your own, but just make it out
Maybe it's a
loud?
bit easier if I read. Yes. So
okay, I will read.
Yeah.
Is it about asking for salary after getting the offer or in the first introduction interview?
It's better if you do it at the first introduction interview. There's 2 points. You can do it at first and at the end. And sometimes you have to do it both. Sometimes, like, when I would, like, with that company where I got very big salary, like, adjustment, I actually asked for almost my salary plus 500. And then I had to renegotiate and said that, there were changes and now I want this. Sometimes it does bring you, like, that they will tell no, because, we already negotiated. So it's best if you talk about it on the first interview, and it's best if you already tell the good number. But it's mostly working at the last interview as well if you change the number. And from my practice, when you do that, especially like throughout interviews, you show that you perform, you can be a good fit for them, they would more likely give you a better salary as well.
Mm-hmm. How to answer if the interviewers ask my expectation in the first meeting before giving the offer?
Yeah, you just do what I mentioned about, you get your minimum, your maximum, you give the range. You are not playing games there. You're not telling, like, but what is your range? But it will depend. Like, you will get a very bad offer then. You tell what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you don't go throughout 7 interviews with a bad, feeling. You do it even if you're happy with what they can offer you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, another question. Thank you for the workshop you were saying. I have a question. What if I perform 95% of the next level, but the manager talks that I should do it super strongly for 100% within 12 months, and then they will consider promoting? How can I prepare for this talk for the future if I meet some excuses again? Thank you for your answer in advance.
Yes, if you would have been 1 year ago in my other presentation, you would hear my advice that you do it for money. If they ask you for 12 months to perform at 100% where you're already in 95, you're leaving that place because they don't value you, they don't value your work. If they tell you, yes, you are performing 95%, you need 100% for 1 year, they, like, tell you that you're doing that. So it's not your imagination, but they did confirm that you're doing that. You are leaving that company because they will not promote you because it's very nice for the company that you are doing that job for free. You're not preparing for negotiation, you are leaving.
Okay. If it's possible that the offer can be withdrawn, if I ask more money, more salary, than they offer, or at the end somehow they will not withdraw it and make a common amount.
Yes, as I mentioned, usually, okay, for example, they tell you that the salary range is 4,000 to 4,500. And at the beginning, you say fine. But then you realize that you want maybe like 5,000. It's fine. You tell them, like, okay, maybe I want something closer to 5,000, 5,200. It's usually fine. But if you say, I want 6,000, when the range was 4,000 to 4,500, yes, they will withdraw it because that's like a very big change. But if it's changed within like 20, 30%, like 30 is maybe not 30, but 20%, it's usually fine. And they will not withdraw the offer. And you also, of course, mentioned that you are open to negotiations. And so if it's like you ask for 5,000, they will probably offer, okay, maybe we can go to 4,800, and you say yes, probably. Yes.
Okay, so the next question. If you mention your expected salary in the job application and later during the process you get to know that the salary you mentioned lies in the middle of the salary range for the role, when is the best time to negotiate the salary? When you get the offer or after your probation?
Answer is always when you get the offer. As I mentioned, you tell that something changed for you. You're now getting this promotion. Like there's changes at your work. You're getting a raise of like whatever amount you have, and you ask for more money. Not probation. Probation is the point where you might get something, but most likely not. So your place is the negotiation of the contract, because when they give you the offer, they want you, unless you go crazy. So here it's a middle, so you go higher, and you know how high you can go high as possible.
And Maria added a very nice addition. I need to check it out, but Maria is saying that it's going to change from the new year. Companies with more than 100 employees will be required to provide salary ranges before the first interview.
Yeah, that would be really great, and I think that will change the market itself as well, because now, as I said, it's usually companies with below ranges provide those, but now people will see how others are getting paid, and I hope it will get better after that.
And for now, there's this all question which we have.
Mhm.
Thank you, Alyona, for answering all the questions. Guys, if you have no questions, then thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this session as much as I. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alyona. Thank you, guys. And see you on the next sessions. You can subscribe on our Luma calendar and see updates on new events like that one. And good luck with your salary negotiation. I think that new year, it's a good time to, review the salary.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.